Corey from Shabaka's Black Experience Enhanced.
Hey,
And
hey.
what's today's date, Shabaka?
Okay, today is December 1st, 2025. So you got exactly 30 days left in the year of 2025.
Oh, I should have known it was December 1st. You know, for some reason, I was thinking we had 31 days. Ah,
Now you got 31 days in the wait a minute, you got 30 days in November, but you got the 31 days in October and you got the 31 days in
there,
December.
there was actually originally 13 months, which
Oh yeah.
makes everything even out perfectly where you don't have to have no daylight saving time. You don't
No,
have
and
no
all
mismatch
that's
days, everything perfect in alignment. So they took the 13th month away.
mm-hmm.
Now I've been trying to find out what that month was called. You know?
You had to do the research.
Yeah.
Yep.
Hey, let me play a little piece of this for the people.
All right.
Had it all warmed up. You might like it too. I ain't gonna play the whole thing. We're gonna give them a little
Mm-hmm.
piece of it, and then we're gonna talk about some current events.
Yes,
December the
sir.
1st, 2025. Black Ophenham Lion TV and Shabaka's Black Experience Enhanced. Kind of like the Whack and Adam show, but without
Mm-hmm.
all the snitching, without all the BS, without all the
Right.
who did what, and they ignoring the issues that's really affecting the people. You
Yeah.
know,
So we do. Yeah.
trying to stick their
Exactly.
nose in folks' business that will cut it off for them. You know what I mean? But
Yep.
let me play a little piece of this, Tabaka, if you want to put on mute for a minute.
Yes, sir. Okay.
Let's journey back to 1871, to a town in Alabama where fear wore a white hood and a legend was about to be born in darkness. The late afternoon sun hung low and heavy in the Alabama sky, casting long, distorted shadows that stretched like grasping fingers across the dusty road. Isaac Granger, a man in his late 20s, rode his sturdy horse into the town of Redemption, the name itself a bitter irony he was only just beginning to taste. He carried the lean, hard physique of a soldier, forged in the crucible of a war that was supposed to have settled everything, and possessed the watchful, ever-scanning eyes of a scout who had learned that survival depended on seeing what others missed. He remembered Redemption as a place of noise and life, the air filled with the clang of the blacksmith's hammer, the chatter of market day, and the easy laughter of neighbors. The town he entered now was a hollow echo of that memory. It was unnervingly quiet, the silence broken only by the tired creak of his saddle and the soft plod of his horse's hooves in the thick red dust. Storefronts that once displayed their wares with pride were now blinded by boarded up windows. The few people on the street, both black and white, hurried along with their heads down, their shoulders hunched as if against a perpetual storm. They moved with a furtive energy, avoiding eye contact not just with him, but with each other, as if a shared glance was a transaction too costly to afford. The air, thick and humid, seemed to carry a tension that had nothing to do with the weather, a palpable, unspoken dread that settled deep in Isaac's bones. His initial feeling of hopeful homecoming, a warmth he had nursed for 4 long years, began to curdle into a cold knot of disillusionment and suspicion. He had ridden home to find peace, but the atmosphere was not one of peace. It was one of a ceasefire, fragile and temporary. He felt like a stranger in the very place that had given him his name. His path led him away from the town's dead center, toward the small farm of Sarah, an elderly black woman who had been a close and cherished friend of his mother. As he approached the property, the cold knot in his stomach tightened. Her land, which he recalled as a testament to meticulous care and tireless work, was now showing the unmistakable signs of fear and neglect. The fences, once straight and strong, sagged in disrepair, their posts leaning like tired old men. A vegetable garden lay choked with weeds, its bounty surrendered. Most jarring of all was a wide, ugly patch of scorched black wood marring the wall of her barn, a violent scar against the weathered gray timber. Sarah emerged from the small cabin as he dismounted, her face a road map of worry that broke into a fragile smile. She rushed to him, embracing him with a strength that belied her years. But her joy was a flickering candle in a gale of fear. Isaac, Lord be praised. You're home, she breathed, her hands clutching his arms. But this ain't the home you left, child. Her touch was trembling. I can see that, Sarah, Isaac said, his voice low as he looked from her haunted eyes to the blackened barn wall. What happened here? What's got everyone so spooked? It's like the war never ended. Sarah pulled him toward the relative safety of her porch, her gaze darting toward the tree line as if the woods themselves had hostile eyes. She lowered her voice to a strained, urgent whisper. It's the night riders, she said, the words tasting like poison. Goblins from a nightmare, dressed in white sheets. They come in the night, Isaac. They burn, they whip, they take what they want. They want to scare us back into chains or into the ground. She wrung her hands, the skin worn and dry. The sheriff, he does nothing. He looks the other way, or worse, he smiles when he hears the stories. There's no one to stop them, child. No one. Isaac listened, his jaw tightening until his teeth ached. The weariness from his long journey was burned away by a slow, simmering anger. He felt the crushing weight of the community's helplessness in Sarah's quiet terror, a terror that had become as normal and as constant as the setting of the Sunday. That night, sleep offered no refuge. He was jolted from a shallow, restless doze by the sound of distant, frantic shouts and the faint, angry pulse of an orange glow against the dark horizon. Every instinct from his years as a scout screamed into high alert. He dressed quickly in dark clothing and slipped out of Sarah's cabin, melting into the familiar woods that bordered her property. He moved with a stealth.
Whoa, what that sound like, Shabaka? Sound like the first Black Panther to me. Say he's dressed in all black. Say what? Still with me? Can you come on, Shabaka? Sound like he was the first Black Panther.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Yeah, he was the first Black Panther. That's exactly what it was. Also, too, what it is, see, this is a brother who got tired, you say. So you got an organized organization dedicated to your destruction. So now what this man is doing is counterintelligence.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm talking about from a military point of view. Counterintelligence.
Yeah.
And he's also, too, is saving himself. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. So as she said he went and put on all black. I'm like, oh.
Yeah. You see? Yeah, that sounds. Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds just like the pretty kitty.
The big black cat. Well, let me play a little.
Oh, yeah, the pretty kitty.
Play that part again.
Oh,
I
yeah.
like hearing that.
He dressed quickly in dark clothing and slipped out of Sarah's cabin, melting into the familiar woods that bordered her property. He moved with a stealth that was second nature, his feet finding purchase on the pine needle floor without a whisper of sound. The glow grew brighter, the shouts clearer. laced with a guttural cruelty that made his blood run cold. He followed the terrible light until he reached a ridge overlooking the small homestead of the Johnson family, a
Right.
hard-working couple with 2 young children. From his
Right.
concealed position, he witnessed the nightmare Sarah had described. A dozen hooded figures on horseback circled the modest house like vultures, their white robes a ghostly, obscene sight in the flickering torchlight. Their horses, agitated by the fire and the fear, stamped and snorted, their breath pluming in the cool night air. Isaac remained perfectly still,
Oh, yeah.
his body rigid with a fury so profound it felt like a physical sickness. His training took over, a cold, tactical part of his mind detaching from the horror to analyze the threat. He counted the riders, 12 of them. He noted their weapons, a mix of shotguns, pistols, and the burning torches they wielded like instruments of hell. He studied their leader, a man who sat on a finer, taller horse, his posture radiating an arrogant authority as he barked distorted commands from beneath his pointed hood. Isaac absorbed the sheer, unrestrained brutality of the scene. He watched as they dragged Mr. Johnson from his home, his pleas for mercy lost in the jeers of his tormentors. He watched as they tied him to a post and brought down a whip, the crack of the leather a sickening sound that echoed across the valley. He watched as they set the family's small cotton shed ablaze, the flames leaping into the sky, consuming a year's worth of hope and labor in a matter of minutes. The air was filled with the sharp crackle of the fire, the splintering of wood, the hateful, muffled shouts from under the hoods, and the terrified, muffled sobs of Mrs. Johnson and her children, huddled on their porch. For Isaac, this was not an abstract threat or a distant rumor. This was a visceral, personal assault on people he knew, on the very idea of the peace he had fought for, the promise of his service, the meaning behind the blue uniform he had worn with pride, felt like a bitter, devastating lie. He did not return to Sarah's farm. Instead, he made his way through the darkened woods to the dilapidated cabin that had once belonged to his family. It stood on the edge of town, abandoned and forgotten, a skeleton of a home. Inside, the air was stale with the ghosts of memory. By the flickering, uncertain light of a single lantern, he knelt on the floor and unpacked a worn leather satchel, the contents of which were the last remnants of his former life. He carefully laid each item on the dusty floorboards. There was his folded Union Scout uniform, the blue wool still vibrant, a tangible link to a time of purpose and conviction. Beside it, he placed a well-oiled Colt revolver, its metal cool and heavy in his hand. Next came a razor-sharp Bowie knife, its blade gleaming in the lamplight. And finally, his collection of tracking tools, small, intricate pieces of metal and wood that had saved his life more times than he could count. He picked up the uniform, the fabric a stark reminder of a war he had believed was won, a victory that was supposed to have purchased freedom and equality. He thought of the men he had fought alongside, black and white, who had bled and died for that ideal. Now, that same ideal was being openly mocked and burned away by masked cowards under the cover of darkness. He realized with a chilling certainty that the official war may have been over, but a new, undeclared war was being waged right here, on his home. This was a war of whispers and shadows, of terror and complicity. He could not fight it as Isaac Granger, the soldier. An open fight would be suicide. And the the supposed arbiter of justice, was either blind or an active participant. He had to use their own weapons against them. He had to become a whisper. He had to use the darkness. He had to become fear itself. He reached back into the satchel and pulled out a small, leather-bound journal and a pen. He opened it to a clean page, the first time he had felt the need to write in years. Dipping the pen in ink, his hand steady, he wrote, October 1871.
Okay.
He's keeping a log.
He say, I'm gonna interpret for the people what he wrote because you know they gonna distort it and they gonna take stuff out and they're gonna make it
Yeah.
seem like he was a madman or something. Who knows? But we're gonna
Oh
get
yeah.
to it. But
Now,
what he wrote was they done fucked around and found out.
oh yeah.
No, I
And,
can't say that on fudged around and found out.
yes, sir. And he's keeping a log to pass on down in the event that he falls. In short,
Also,
what he's doing here, Lightning,
1871
yes,
is when they made the Klansman Act.
yeah. And then keep
Klansman
in
Act was
mind,
made in 1871. Want to throw that in there
right.
too. Same
Oh,
year.
yes, sir. And then keep in mind, he's doing what Dr. Newton had stated in his book by the same name called Revolutionary Suicide.
Mm-hmm.
Because with him stalking like the panther, he know he's getting ready
Yeah,
to go into
he's
battle.
gonna be coming
Okay,
in the darkness, coming in the night.
right. And he also know that the odds are against him. You see what I mean? This
And
is
he
why
looked at
he's
that uniform as to say, wait a minute, that's their
exactly,
uniform. That ain't got nothing to do with us.
exactly. You see what
That's
I'm
how I look at
saying?
it. I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, wait a minute. That's the same uniform that's that can be sicked on the people without a hesitation. If one call from the president, and they'll be shooting rubber bullets at the people.
Yeah. And then, as we had stated, is that the
I mean, they're
police.
already doing that.
Yes, sir.
Doing
And
that
then as
and tear gas.
mhm.
Mhm.
And then keep in mind is that the police are policy enforcers that evolved from the slave patrols.
Yeah, what are these ICE? There and
Exactly.
I looked at one video and they were in LA and every
Hmm.
last one of them ICE officers was a foreigner, except one.
Yeah.
Every
And
last
then
one of them was from a different country. Them the
and
ones
then
they supposed to know the difference. We Americans.
yeah, but keep in mind is that the LAPD was recruiting illegal aliens for their department.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Well,
So it's kind of like what we have right here is there's a term for it. What is that term, brother? That those who enforcing the law want you to obey the law, but yet though they violate the law themselves that they swore to uphold and protect.
mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. It's called hypocrisy.
Okay. Yeah. I know one thing. Um, People gonna have to start patrolling their own neighborhoods and patrolling these damn police from the inside out.
Well, mm-hmm.
From the outside,
What
control their movement on our people, and from the inside, be there when they get there with our people. You know, don't just be on the scene recording it. Be at the station.
exactly. You see? Exactly.
Community liaison.
There you go.
Need more of them.
Yeah, that's a nice way to put it.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm.
police, your police.
Yeah.
More
And see,
faster they find, the better.
and then keep in mind is that what you got with the house Negro syndrome, and it is a syndrome. Okay, case in point, you heard of SWAT that was invented by the Los Angeles Police Department. But the one who came up with the idea was a person by the name of Jesse Brewer, who was the first black police captain on the LAPD. Uncle Tom Bradley was the first black lieutenant on the LAPD. You see?
But did he have a black SWAT team though?
Did they have a black what now?
SWAT team.
Oh yeah, well Jesse Brewer invented the SWAT team.
Yeah,
And
but he invented and make it with a whole bunch of just big burly white dudes look like they are.
yes, sir. Yes, sir. And keep in mind is that the Metropolitan Division of the LAPD, okay, is what SWAT is. That's LAPD's elite.
Yeah.
Which means is these are the best individuals that carry out the policy to be enforced in the city of Los Angeles in the black community.
Most obedient robotic slaves. Non-thinking.
Pretty much. Push
a button on their remote control and have them do whatever you want. They probably got that neuron chip from Elon Musk.
Yeah, probably, because you could best believe with Elon Musk developing all these chips and apps and stuff like that. I'm quite sure, man, they have their clandestine apps as well, too. That's what makes these applications very, very dangerous. What do they tell the gullible general public? Oh, just download the app.
He's got a robot.
Black Friday, Christmas. Yeah, hold it. But then, like on Black Friday, oh, just download the app. Download the app. Download the app.
Nope.
See,
a lot of scams out there for Black Friday. People think they're going to get something and it never comes.
Yeah, exactly. And then keep in mind, we are doing this under fair use of the 1960s, of the 1976 Fair Use Copyright Act. I want to put that out there too.
Okay.
And it is being streamed on my YouTube channel as well. Although I ain't got that many followers on there, but it's up there, you know.
I got it up on the screen also.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Fair use is for the purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, education, and research. And eight out of those 9 items you got right there is what this is being doing for. Research, teaching. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Criticism.
No.
But they don't want us to criticize, because if we criticize, oh, well, y'all violated community standards. See, that's what they call it.
They want to criticize because this is the part of Black history that they don't teach in the school.
Yeah, and this is the Black history that they want you to forget.
Oh, well, they never let you know about it. So
exactly.
That's my job. And play a little bit more of this, because it sounds like he's getting ready to get busy.
Yeah, it sounds like he's getting ready to put that work in.
I'm telling you now, the original gangster.
Return to redemption to find not peace, but a new war. A war of whispers and shadows. The law is blind, or worse, complicit. If they hunt in the dark, then the dark is where they will be met. He closed the journal, the words on the page a silent vow, a declaration of intent. He then picked up the Colt revolver, his movements methodical and precise, the quiet clicks of the cylinder turning, the soft whisper of an oiled cloth over the barrel, the cold final snap as he loaded the chambers. These were the sounds of a decision being forged into reality. His face, illuminated by the solitary lantern, was set in a mask of cold, unyielding resolve. The soldier was gone. A hunter was being born. In the seclusion of his family's decaying cabin, Isaac systematically began the grim work of erasing himself. This was not a task of concealment, but of creation. He was not hiding Isaac Granger. He was forging the Phantom Rider from the raw materials of necessity and rage. He worked with a
Riding on the
silent, grim purpose
storm.
that filled the small, dusty space with a palpable intensity. His first task was to create the color of night itself. He gathered walnuts from the woods, their green husks staining his fingers a deep, telltale brown, and boiled them down in a rusted pot over a low fire. To this dark brew, he added charcoal, crushed into a fine powder, creating a dye as black and unforgiving as a starless midnight. Into this bubbling concoction, he submerged his durable canvas trousers and a simple, collarless shirt, stirring them with a stick until the fabric drank the darkness and became one with it. He hung them to dry in the cabin's shadows, away from the prying eyes of the Sunday. Next, he turned to the mask. From a piece of thick black leather saved from an old saddle repair kit, he cut a shape that would cover his entire face. From hairline to jaw, he worked the leather with his knife, carving two narrow horizontal slits for his eyes, just wide enough to see but too small to betray the color or emotion within them. He punched small holes along the edges and threaded a leather thong through them, ensuring it would fit snugly, becoming a second skin. This was not a disguise. It was a new face, a face of pure, cold retribution. His attention then shifted to his equipment. His saddle, a sturdy piece of army surplus, was functional but not silent. He took strips of old cloth and painstakingly wrapped the metal stirrups, the buckles, and any part of the harness that might jingle or scrape. Sound was a luxury he could not afford, a betrayal he would not permit. Every movement had to be as quiet as a shadow passing over the ground. Finally,
are you still carrying 2 or 3 tool bags depending on the job? You're doing it
Man,
all
we are
right.
not
This is the new
interested in your
DBX line.
commercial.
Well, President Trump cited testing by other nations as a justification for restarting nuclear tests here. Only North Korea conducts explosive testing.
People are selling. The first one is Indian curry methylene blue. That's because 80% of methylene blue is made in India. The second is Chinese.
there was his partner in this endeavor, the one soul he would trust in the coming war. His horse was a powerful, intelligent black stallion named Midnight, a creature as dark as the identity Isaac was creating. In the hidden glade behind the cabin, he began a new kind of training. He rode Midnight for hours without a bridle, teaching the horse to respond to the slightest shifts in his weight, the gentle pressure of a knee, a soft click of the tongue. He trained him to stand motionless for long stretches, to move through dense undergrowth without a sound, to be not just a mount.
I got Memoir of a Black Panther off of that one, y'all.
Mm-hmm.
When he said midnight, I'm like, man. My
Hey.
pop had he had a black horse named Midnight. That's confirmation, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was like, yeah, he had a black horse named Ash. I mean, he had me riding a big gray horse named Ashes, right? And he had that black horse named Midnight. I'm like, goodness gracious, that just brought it all back. You see where he going with this, right? He created their nightmare come true. Like they
Exactly.
wanted to create this hooded ghost looking figure because we believe in ghosts back then, you know. I mean, we
Right.
still do, but they ain't coming in white sheets. They coming in looking just like they looked when they was alive.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
And then
yeah, I just had to
one.
pause on that. Where you at, Chewbacca?
Okay, I'm right here.
Mhm.
See,
Sound like he
and
created the first Black Panther uniform.
yeah, yeah.
You know? When I heard him say he putting the slits in the eyes and I'm like, it's just enough where you can't see the light in your eye, where it's just dark. I got a mask like that. That shit's spooky.
Mm-hmm. Like a ninja, blending into the elements. Rather for snow, rain, night, day. You see? Where you at, Lightning? Okay, where's Lightning at, folks? Yeah, I want to finish
I'm
hearing this
right here.
story.
I'm right here.
Oh, okay.
It looked like wait a minute. Hold on one moment. Like we got technical difficulties.
How convenient.
No. I think my phone might have timed out.
Okay.
So yeah, we'll give them part two. Not necessarily. Hold on. I think I know how to do it. It's
Okay.
like you gotta improvise, adapt, and overcome,
Mm-hmm.
and make it happen by any means necessary. And where there's
Right.
a way, you just gotta let God take the wheel and
Mm-hmm.
do it fine. And that's what just happened.
Yeah.
Just when you think all is lost.
Exactly.
Wait a minute, hold
You
on.
see?
Let me do this like this. Okay. Boom.
Okay.
There you go. Yeah. I had to switch it up real quick.
Oh yeah.
Uh-huh. So it wasn't it ain't always the man getting us. Sometimes it's just us, you know. Yeah. We just human, so human error, you know. That's how I
Mm-hmm.
look at it. I say ain't nobody getting me but me. I
Mm-hmm.
say because if it don't work on one channel, boom, I'm going to the other one. Then we
Mm-hmm.
will be on TikTok. I don't know if we're on TikTok tonight, but I'm going back on TikTok because they gave me a nice, warm welcome over on TikTok. I haven't seen that many comments and stuff on Facebook yet. I mean,
Okay, if you can get
if
it
I
on
see
TikTok,
100
do it.
people, I should see 100 thumbs ups. And
Mm-hmm.
if I see 100 people, I should see 100 hearts or 100, man, you out of your mind. 100 black power, all power to the
Oh,
people.
absolutely.
1,000 likes and just somebody just go mad with the button and just keep hitting the heart button, the heart. I do
Oh
people
yeah.
like that. Mhm.
Okay. I got a question for you, man. You want to share this link out or just keep it as it is?
Mm-mm. Too late for that.
All right.
No, nope, nope,
Okay.
not really. Keep it as it is. I mean, then it's gonna get way past talking about the Phantom, and we talking
Mm.
about the Phantom, and of course, you got different people who have different mind. I mean, they might have one. Everybody's thinking on the same accord, but everybody's got different subjects, so I can't do it.
Exactly. Okay.
And somebody like, well, why you not talking about H. Rap Brown and Rest in Power, Imam, you say it. How you say his name?
Jamil Alameen.
Yeah, Jamil Al Amin, Rest in
Mm-hmm.
Power. So somebody might want
Absolutely.
to come on and start talking about that. Well, we talked about that for a couple of days. I mean, actually, I covered him the day before he passed. That was almost like, man, like
Yeah.
wow, I can't believe I did that. Because
Mm-hmm.
did a tribute to him and a call for the people to write letters to see if
Mm-hmm.
they can get him out because he was he was not given medical attention that he needed because he had like
Right.
a cyst or something on his neck, and they didn't
Yeah.
give him medical attention, and they knew that he was 82 years old, and that was most
Exactly.
likely the reason he passed, because they neglected to give him health care.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's what it
Uh-huh.
is. Uh-huh.
Uh-huh.
But anyway, I don't want somebody to come on and start talking about that and Trump and the damn all that anyway, because all I did was pause it. And I was like, man, this is getting good. Let me go get my coffee and warm it up, because I won't be here for a minute. Hold on. Let me play another piece of this. Unless you had another commentary on it.
Okay, no, the only thing I could say on it, man, is that the man is going out here defending himself on a collective basis.
He defended the
Meaning,
people.
yeah, that's what I mean by on a collective basis. The collective
Oh,
basis
yeah, right.
being the people, being
Exactly.
black people in particular. You see what I'm saying?
And it sparked something inside of him. You know what I mean?
Well, that's what they call inspiration.
That's what we need, people to be inspired.
Exactly. You
We
see?
need more inspiration, more people to hit that and be inspired to hit the Cash App too. It's right there on the bottom left of the screen. Black with $ Black Ophenum #1.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And put on there so we can me and Chewbacca can split it if anybody ever does send anything. Hashtag resurrection of the mental dead.
Mental dead. Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put the hashtag here.
And then we say exploring the Black experience from, I'll let you say it.
Okay. And we deal with the Black experience from the beginning of time to 10 minutes ago.
There you go. And speaking of the beginning of time, I don't know if this is going to lead to it, but this might have had something to do with sparking the Klansman Act. And we're going to cover that too. That's a little lengthy, but it's like the Klansman Act actually covers stuff that they're doing to the people now. And I ain't talking about the Klan doing it. I'm talking about the government doing it. You know?
Through the policy enforcers.
Yeah. Yeah.
See,
and they got two.
That is the policy, not cutting you off, Dynamite, but that is the policy that they are enforcing. And the policy is not coming to them from the people. The policy is coming from what they would call the executive branch. Rather covert or overt.
Yeah, and then they're doing a lot of covert BS, like fake assassination attempt. Talking about he got shot in the ear. It would have blown his ear and half his head off if it had been a real bullet.
Yeah, and then
some theatrical BS. And what else they doing theatrical? Oh, they got the guy who killed the two National Guardsmen in DC. They was around Farragut Square. That's not really downtown. That's close to DuPont Circle. But it's close enough. It's downtown area. It's like Chinatown. But the guy that killed him, he was an Afghan who was given
granted political asylum.
Political asylum because he was working with the CIA.
Yeah, when Biden was over there.
Yeah, but I'm just saying he was already working with the CIA. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so then they know who he was.
More like a setup to me, because by him killing those two, by them in my opinion, they were sacrificed. And the reason they were sacrificed is because the answer, the response after they got killed was Trump said send in 500 more National Guard in the DC. That was his response to that. And then when they asked him, was he going to go to the funeral? It's like, I hadn't thought about it. Really? You mean tell
You
me
hadn't thought
you
about
sent these people to their death and you hadn't even thought about it? You know what I mean?
it.
Yeah,
Okay, which is kind of callous. You see what I
yeah.
mean? So
And
what it
and
is,
he was a foreigner, and they supposed to get the death penalty if they kill an American citizen if
mhm,
they're no, that says if they're an illegal. He wasn't illegal.
mhm,
He wasn't illegal. And I bet you they probably swap his ass out for an Iranian that looked just like him and have him on
mhm,
the next flight the next flight to Atlantic City.
mhm. And I wouldn't be
He'll be in
surprised.
he'll be in Vegas. He'll be in Vegas shooting dice. You know? Yeah,
Yeah, they
yeah.
probably get. Yeah, they
And
probably
they have
come.
another guy. They have another guy with a mustache that looked like him. And what's that guy that dictator of that country? Well, that's what America love to call a mother jumper a dictator. How we know he's a dictator? Maybe he was a beloved member of his country. Maybe they voted him in. What's his name?
Mhm.
What's that dude's name? The Ayatollah?
Oh yeah,
No,
Khomeini.
not
I
the
thought.
Ayatollah. What's the dude's name with the mustache?
Oh wait a minute.
You know, they executed him. They pulled him out
Yeah.
of his bunker. Well,
Oh,
you know,
Osama bin Laden.
no, Osama bin Laden, he's got the beard. I'm talking about the one with the mustache.
Okay.
They got him too. You know, I think
Okay.
he was in a bunker too.
Okay.
Damn. Come on. I thought you would know. The
Yeah.
people know. Somebody can put
Yeah.
it in the comments.
Yeah. Absolutely. And then not to mention the fact that you know.
Around the same time as Osama bin Laden, he
Okay.
was exact same time frame.
Okay, and he had the mustache.
He had the mustache. Yeah.
Okay, you're not talking about Gaddafi.
No, that's our man. He didn't have no
Yeah.
Gaddafi didn't have no mustache.
No, yeah, that's what I was about to say. And then
If you say Gaddafi, you got the people don't know who he is, but you got to give him a description. He was the
okay,
one, the
Muammar
cool one
Gaddafi.
with the sunglasses on, and the kufi on, light
Okay.
skin, looking like Farrakhan.
Yeah. Now the thing is that what Gaddafi wanted to do, as you know, he had wanted to unify all of Africa, but he kept Libya self-sufficient. Okay, it's because he dispersed the wealth. You know, when a couple got together, okay, he would give them a home, a job, education.
Right.
When the baby was born, you know, the child was
Just
taken care of. So
when you're
so
out in the wild,
basically,
you either have
what,
bear skin.
and what he was doing is what they would call equitable wealth distribution. That's why they hated Gaddafi. Because he was doing equitable wealth distribution, meaning that he was sharing the revenue, okay, of
Well, who's
Libya.
the one that they thought he had something to do with 9/11? Was that's not Osama? That's
Yeah, that's Osama.
okay. Damn.
That's Osama bin Laden. You see.
Yeah. Well, it's another one. He was they executed him, I think. You know, they treat him like like he wasn't even a leader of a country.
Yeah, yeah. And
They
then
really
also,
did. They treat him like he's some bum on the street,
yeah,
you know, get down on the ground, freeze.
mhm, yeah, you see. And
I
then,
think they had him in court. Yeah, they had him in court and stuff. I'm like, goodness gracious. Huh.
yeah,
Wow. So this brother here, he was taking them to court. He was taking the clan to court, probably one at a time, because
okay,
no coward going that travel in a pack like that gonna be
yeah,
any good by itself.
exactly.
He
You
just
see,
straight up on anyway. No coward would ever be able to handle this type of a situation.
yeah, you
Let me play a
see.
little more of this. Hold on.
Mm-hmm.
I think I covered some of them other subjects just in case people wanted to cover other
Yeah,
subjects when they come in. And see how it got me off track? It got me off track. Let me get right back on. Here we go.
Be as quiet as a shadow passing over the ground.
Oh,
finally.
It wasn't you got me off track. I got myself off track talking about what I meant.
Trust in the coming war. His horse was a powerful, intelligent black stallion named Midnight, a creature as dark as the identity
That's
Isaac
where I
was
stopped because
creating.
it made me have a
In the hidden
flashback.
glade behind the
Yeah,
cabin,
Midnight.
began a new kind of
Now
training.
it's time to get my coffee on.
He rode Midnight for hours without a bridle, teaching the horse to respond to the slightest shifts in his weight, the gentle pressure of a knee, a soft click of the tongue. He trained him to stand motionless for long stretches, to move through dense undergrowth without a sound, to be not just a mount, but an extension of his own will, a living, breathing piece of the night. The entire process was a solemn ritual. With each piece of the costume he completed, with each silent command the horse learned to obey, he felt a piece of his old self, the hopeful soldier, the returning son, fall away. He was shedding the man who had bled for a promise and embracing the cold, vengeful purpose he had now chosen. It was a transformation not of the body, but of the soul. A man putting on a mask to become a symbol, a ghost to hunt the ghouls. Days later, the whispers found him. The wind carried the news, passed from one fearful mouth to another, that the Klan planned to ride against the Washington family. The Washingtons were guilty of no crime save for success, having worked, saved, and finally bought their own small plot of land, a 50-acre testament to their resilience, that the Night Riders saw as an intolerable act of defiance. Isaac learned they would gather in a clearing near the old cypress swamp before their ride, a place where they felt invincible, where they would light a cross to sanctify their hatred before unleashing it. That night, as the Klansmen assembled, their mood was arrogant and jovial. They were a dozen strong, their white robes stark against the encroaching darkness of the swamp. They were making a sport of terror, their laughter echoing unnaturally through the trees as they prepared their torches and the crude wooden cross. They were so confident in their power, so certain of the fear they inspired, that they never once thought to look into the deeper shadows. That was where Isaac waited. He was a part of the darkness, silent and still atop Midnight. He had no intention of meeting them with brute force. His plan was to dismantle their courage, to turn their own fear against them.
Right.
He began not with a shout, but with a stone. He had marked the location earlier. A large, papery hornet's nest, hanging from a low branch directly above the spot where the Klansmen had carelessly tied their horses. His aim was true. The stone struck the nest with a dull thud, and the night exploded with the furious buzzing of 1,000 angry hornets. The horses, already skittish, screamed in pain and terror, pulling violently at their reins. Several broke free, galloping madly into the swamp, while the others bucked and kicked, creating chaos at the edge of the clearing. As the Klansmen turned in confusion, shouting at the sudden pandemonium, the Phantom Rider emerged. He didn't charge. He flowed out of the shadows like smoke, a dark shape on a dark horse. In his hand, he held not a gun, but a long black bullwhip. The whip cracked through the air, the sound sharp and loud, echoing like a gunshot and making the Klansmen flinch. The leather lash, a blur in the torchlight, snapped with pinpoint accuracy, wrapping around the barrel of a shotgun and ripping it from a man's grasp. Another crack, and a burning torch was sent flying, its flame extinguished as it tumbled into a puddle of murky water. He rode midnight directly into their gathering, the great horse, a terrifying, unstoppable force. They scattered like dry leaves tripping over their own robes. The half-lit cross, the symbol of their power, was trampled into the dirt under midnight's powerful hooves, its nascent flames smothered in mud. Throughout the attack, Isaac said nothing. His silence was his most terrifying weapon. These men were used to screams, to pleas, to curses. They were met with an unnerving, inhuman quiet that stripped them of their bravado. This was not a man they were fighting. It was a force, a specter from the swamp itself. He did not kill. He disarmed. He unhorsed. He humiliated. He left them with stinging welts from the whip, with the terror of their spooked horses, and with the deep, abiding shame of their own cowardice. He shattered their sense of power, their anonymity, and their belief that the night belonged to them. Then, as quickly as he had appeared, he melted back into the darkness, leaving behind a scene of chaos, confusion, and a newfound fear. The next morning, the freedmen's community was electric with a new kind of energy. The news, carried on hushed, excited whispers, spread from cabin to cabin, from field to field. The Washingtons, safe and unharmed, told a story that grew with each telling. A story of a shadow on horseback, a dark avenger who had descended upon the clan like a storm. They spoke of a figure who moved like smoke, whose whip cracked like lightning, and who had vanished without a trace, leaving the night riders scattered and broken. For the first time in a long time, the sun seemed to shine a little brighter. A flicker of hope, fragile but persistent, was ignited in the hearts of a people who had known only fear. The night, it seemed, no longer belonged exclusively to the clan. Meanwhile, in the white community, a different set of stories began to circulate. The defeated clansmen, nursing their wounds and their shattered pride, could not admit they had been routed by a single man. To excuse their failure, they wove their own exaggerated tales. They spoke of a demon summoned from the swamp, a vengeful spirit with eyes of cold fire. It wasn't natural, one was heard to say in the town's saloon, his voice still trembling. The air grew cold where he rode. He didn't make a sound, but the devil's own work was in that whip. Another claimed the rider's horse had hooves of fire and breathed smoke. These tales, born of shame and superstition, served Isaac's purpose perfectly. He was no longer a man. He was a legend, a phantom, his power magnified by the very fear of those he hunted. Fear was now mixed with wonder, and in the Black community, a dangerous, thrilling sense of defiance began to take root. The Phantom Rider had not only saved the Washingtons, he had given his people a weapon of their own, a story, a belief that they were not entirely alone in the darkness. To stay ahead, Isaac knew he needed more than just whispers. He needed intelligence. Days after the attack, he shed the skin of the Phantom Rider and once again became Isaac Granger, a quiet man looking for work. He rode into town, not on the formidable Midnight, but on a nondescript mare borrowed from Sarah. He wore simple farmer's clothes, his posture slightly stooped, his eyes downcast, the very picture of a man trying to be invisible. His destination was the general store, a place that served as the town's unofficial heart, where goods, money, and most importantly, information were exchanged. The store was run by a man named Mr. Abernathy, a nervous bird like man with a fundamentally decent heart, but a spine made of jelly. He disapproved of the clan's violence, but was far too afraid of their power to ever speak out against them. He wrung his hands constantly, as if trying to wash them of the town's collective guilt. Isaac entered the store and gave a quiet nod to Abernathy. He busied himself looking at sacks of flour, pretending to be just another farmer, while his ears, honed by years of scouting, tuned in to the conversations around him. Two patrons, burly men with the self-satisfied air of those who believe they are on the right side of history, were discussing the strange business from the other night. Heard the boys got spooked by a panther over by the swamp.
Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. Hold the horse. Wait a minute. I knew it. It's definitely. Hey, that's confirmation right there. What they say? A panther? What? Hold on. Let's play that back. Oh, I own the rights to the music too. Let's turn that up for a minute. At least people know where they at.
Yeah.
They'll be like, that's not Black Lightning and Shabaka. I don't hear no jamming. And they can't be. They're not talking. That's a documentary. That's what that is. This is what I call the Black History moment of F around and find out.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Exploring the times in Black history that they didn't want to tell you about, because they didn't want to tell you that the little boy in Africa asked his daddy, I read in the books how the hunter always catch the lion. Why is that, Daddy? He said, because the lion has never written a book.
Exactly.
We're discussing the strange business from the other night. Heard the boys got spooked by a panther over by the swamp.
Whoa!
One of them said,
did you hear that, Shabak?
Yeah, say that again.
Did you hear what he said? He said, them boys got spooked by what?
Yeah.
A panther.
Panther, yeah.
A panther. Man, let's play it one more time.
Two patrons, burly men with the
Big burly men.
satisfied air of those who believe they are on the right side of history, were discussing the strange business from the other night. Heard the boys got spooked by a panther over by the swamp.
All right,
One of them said with a dismissive snort, leaning against the counter. The other man, a known clan sympathizer with a cruel twist to his mouth, leaned in closer, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial rasp. Weren't no panther, he hissed. It was something unnatural, demonic. But don't you worry. They're meeting again Friday to sort it out. A proper meeting with all the leaders over by the old quarry. They aim to hunt this thing down. Isaac's heart gave a single hard thump, but his expression remained placid. He had it, the time and the place. He picked up a small sack of flour and another of salt and brought them to the counter, placing them down gently. "Just need these, Mr. Abernathy," he said, his voice quiet and unremarkable. He paid his coins, his eyes catching Abernathy's for just a second. He saw a flicker of something in the storekeeper's gaze, a mixture of fear and a strange unspoken plea. As Abernathy handed him his change, their fingers brushed. The storekeeper's hands were clammy. "Strange times, Isaac," Abernathy murmured, his voice barely audible, refusing to meet his eyes again. "Just be careful." Isaac gave a slight nod, a silent acknowledgement that passed between them.
You can hear the
He
knees
had
knocking.
confirmed the value of passive intelligence, of being a ghost even in the broad light of day. He had learned the clan's next move without raising a single suspicion, and he had seen in Abernathy's eyes that he was not entirely alone in his hatred for the Night Riders. He was one step ahead, and in this war of shadows.
The best gear for you is something that allows you to use
It would appear to
what you want.
It would appear to me, well, I can kind of hear their knees clattering, knocking together in my head, like you know, like when them cartoons when the knees knock,
Yeah.
they so scared their knees is knocking. Oh,
Yeah.
I got breaking news! Breaking news! White America have kicked Trump out of the gang.
No, really?
Yeah, they kicking Trump out of the gang. They said he gonna get DP'd. Him and Vance by the Joint Chief of Staff is gonna whoop their asses. What's that general? And one of them generals, he let him have it, and he's like, man, this is my army, and my soldiers ain't gonna do that junk you talking about. Huh. Yeah, he said, you think you run shit and stuff. You ain't running nothing up in here, Junior. So the general ready to hop off the podium and smack the hell out of him. And it's like, and Trump's like, Secret Service? And he's like, shit, I got that going. What do you call it? I got SEAL Team 6 with me. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
We'll have your Secret Service for dinner. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Hell yeah. So I'm just saying, yeah, the Joint Chief of Staff is, and all the Republican, Republic clan is all turning their backs on him now. Well, they decided that he don't walk on water after all. It's just a figment of somebody's effed up imagination when they went to do the hair dye.
Oh yeah, man. And then they sat up there, man. You know, they got their own selves to blame, man, for falling for that stupid crap. I don't have no sympathy for stupidity.
And he must be colorblind. They turned him around in the barber chair, and he said, "That's not red." When it was red, right? And they kept handing it up for him. He said, "How's that, Mr. President?" Say, "Oh, that's perfect." When they got it down to orange. Yeah, he always wanted to be a redhead anyway. Oh, speaking of redheads, they got some what you call it? They got a lot of, well, they was the one saying it, not me. So you know, the news media's outlets and stuff saying they got pictures of Trump and Epstein over on Epstein Island, underage girls who just probably had their tops off because they didn't have breasts anyway. So he didn't know.
Well,
Can't
see,
blame Trump.
them is
You can't blame
pedophiles,
Trump for
man.
them taking their shirts off on Epstein Island. Can't blame Trump for them sitting on his lap while they're doing it. Oh my God! But
Yeah,
that's
well,
just hearsay. I don't want to hear it or say it.
yeah, but it is what it is.
Yep.
Yep.
But to his followers, he could walk on water and walk on the children too. It wouldn't matter to them. Well, maybe that part does matter to them. I think they're putting him out of the club.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
man. Yeah. In other words, man, what they doing, Dynamite is working on an exit strategy.
No, they gonna kick him out.
That's the exit strategy.
Unceremoniously.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You know what
Tell
I'm
you what,
saying?
if it was a gang, he would be getting DP'd, as they
Oh
call
yeah.
it. And a couple of guys, a couple of the Joint Chiefs of Staff would get together and put him in the middle and give him a beat down.
Yeah. Yeah. And then the cold part about it is, they need to take inventory of themselves, is because they sat up. There's an old saying, brother. You get what you pay for. Now, these clowns went out here, man, and bought this bill of goods from this dude, right? Now, all of a sudden, they're regretting it. Okay.
Yeah.
And then when I'm looking at
he empowered idiocy.
Yeah.
He empowered people that want to think that they're up here and somebody else is down here. When to him, they don't even realize to me it's so stupid that that commercial where they're going through the country and they're talking about past the Grey Poupon, and he's like he in barbecue sauce country down there with them boys that this guy here was chasing up out the woods. But I love it. They call him the Panther. I knew it. I knew it. They called him the Panther. Yes, indeed. Okay, let me play a little bit more of this because I don't think just maybe half of it tonight.
Vision. And he had seen in Abernathy's eyes that he was not entirely alone in his hatred for the Night Riders. He was one step ahead, and in this war of shadows, that was the only advantage that mattered. The advantage was a fleeting thing, a ghost in itself. Isaac knew this. Being one step ahead was not a permanent state of being. It was a moment, a breath of air stolen before the next plunge. The whispers of his phantom persona had bought the community a fragile reprieve, but he knew the beast he had kicked was not dead. It was merely wounded. And a wounded beast is the most dangerous kind. He had humiliated them. And for men who built their world on the fragile scaffolding of pride and dominance, humiliation was a poison that demanded a violent antidote. He waited, listening not just with his ears, but with his entire being, feeling the vibrations of the town's fear, waiting for the inevitable response. The response was being formulated in a room that smelled of leather, bourbon, and self-righteous fury. The study of Beaumont, a wealthy and cruel plantation owner whose family had owned half the county for generations, was a monument to his own perceived greatness. The walls were adorned with the mounted heads of deer and bear, their glass eyes staring out with a permanent placid surprise that stood in stark contrast to the seething rage of the room's occupant. Confederate memorabilia, a cavalry saber here, a framed flag there, served as sacred relics of a world Beaumont was desperately trying to resurrect. He was the secret Grand Cyclops of the redemption chapter of the Knights of the Ku Klux Klan, and at this moment, He was a man possessed by a fury so cold and deep it seemed to lower the temperature of the room. He slammed a clenched fist down on his polished mahogany desk, the sound making his lieutenant, a man named Carter who stood nervously by the fireplace, jump. The crystal whiskey decanter rattled, its amber contents trembling. One man? Beaumont's voice was not a shout. It was a low, venomous hiss, more terrifying than any yell. You were routed by one man in a mask, a single solitary creature of the swamp, and a dozen of my best men were sent scattering like frightened children. Carter swallowed hard, his own hood now resting on a nearby chair,
He said, "One
his
mother."
face pale and sweaty in the lamplight. Beaumont, it wasn't natural. The way he moved, the sounds, the horses, Beaumont's eye.
I told you they cleaned it up. Now I just have to keep it real with the people. And what he really said was, "One mother." I'm gonna clean it up a little bit, but that's what he said. And hey, you notice something? They call him the Grand Octopus. You notice that? And then they got the Grand Dragon. And then when all this grand stuff happening, it make me think about how they got kids orientated into it from when they were little by watching the Flintstones. You remember they had the Grand Poobah?
Exactly.
And they had
Ralph
the lodge.
Cramden and all that.
They had the lodge. They had the little private caveman only lodge.
Yeah, the same thing with Ralph Cramden on The Honeymooners.
Yeah. Oh, they said a lot of these guys are big time racists. Like Lucille Ball, she ain't allowed no black folk. If you can find a black person on I Love Lucy, I'll kiss your behind in Times Square on Christmas Eve.
Funny you should mention. You know what, brother? Hold it. You just brought back a memory.
Unless it was a maid scene, she didn't allow no black folks on her set.
Okay, funny you should mention that, Dynamite, because she used to, after she did I Love Lucy, then she went on and did the Lucille Ball show or the Lucy show in the early 1960s, right?
Yeah,
just when it was just.
I liked her. I thought she was funny and all that, but now that I find that out, I'm like, man.
Oh yeah, now there's an episode from the early 1960s where she's in a church and got these children singing Christmas carols, right? There's one black child in there on a pair of roller skates, right? And as they singing, they push the little black child out there on the roller skates to Lucille Ball, and she pushes him back into the line. Now, what is that signifying?
Wow. That is
tokenism. Wait a minute. Whoa. Tokenism. Or little nigga, we see you, but we're gonna mock you. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
As opposed to accepting you. Even Dr. King had said, shortly. Yeah. But even as Dr. King said, before his untimely assassination, he had led our people into a burning house with integration. This is a historical fact.
Yeah. But I'm just saying that she didn't have who else? John Wayne, another one.
Avid racers.
And it's like, man, so many of them, and then our people going behind them, wanting to be like them, and reason I say that is because they're not doing it too much now, but it used to be a time when all the rappers wanted to name themselves behind white gangsters.
Oh yeah.
Al
And then
Capone, Frank Nitty. Not Pretty Boy Floyd something, but not Fluky Stokes, not Eldridge Cleaver or something.
No Ali. No X-Man. No Newton.
So they putting they're getting the people been groomed since they were
Mhm.
little kids to accept this BS. But now we in the woke or the woke part.
Situation.
Yeah, we're in the
And
woke.
then and then if I may, Lightning, what I want to do here, man, I wrote some notes here. Lies about Thanksgiving. Hey, pilgrims, the lies about Thanksgiving. The pilgrims came with lies and deceit. So they wasn't escaping nothing. They came with lies and deceit. So that's intent, right? Yeah. Okay. Next question. Why is the Negro more loyal to the descendants of the slave master than his own people? Okay. You say, ask yourself that. And not to mention all the intellectual property stolen from Black people. How white America benefits off of our division from within. See, look at the commercial prisons.
Yeah, well,
Why?
Kanye did a little thing where he named off all those corporations, and he
Mhm.
showed how 90. He showed how most of those big corporations are owned by Jews. You know,
Yeah.
and that's why they might have had Kanye replace or lobotomize. They
Okay.
showed another guy on the park bench looked just like Kanye, and he had a bald spot, and he wasn't old enough to be bald, so he could
Right.
have been lobotomized.
Yeah, it very well could be because you got to understand, people, when it comes to Hollywood, California, and Los Angeles and Beverly Hills right next door to them, money is no object.
Yeah.
Understand? Money is no object, you see. And then why is the Negro more loyal to the descendants of the slave master than to his own people? Ask yourself that.
Loyalty, built on they take the father out of the house and either lock
Okay.
him up or lock him up for being broke. You can be locked up for being broke because you ain't got enough money to pay
Exactly.
child support.
Right.
And I wonder, I don't know, I don't think they do it as much today. But it used to be
Mhm.
a time where they just lock the man up and tell him you got to pay child support. But you can't pay child support if you're locked up.
Yeah. And then if he's locked up, how can he go generate his money?
Yeah, but what about the woman that laid down with him and had these babies? So
Exactly.
now she more in love with that little dollar that she can get from the government instead of holding on to the man. They both work and get $3
Yeah. Exactly. You
and
see?
teach the kids how to work, get out there and get their own, and not sit back and wait for no goddamn Uncle Sam to give them a damn thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I must say though, ain't no my family, shit, grandma and them, they was maids. Granddaddy was doing security at night. I don't believe there ain't no welfare in my family.
Mm-hmm.
We don't believe in welfare in my family. I
Mm-hmm.
always said, and this just like memoirs of a Black Panther, because it's like it really shows that I came a long way. So God lifted me definitely, because at one point I was homeless. I had nowhere to go, but I got money every day. I was hustling legally
Mm-hmm.
too, not no illegal, not no poison to the community, but you know, silver chains and charms. You
Mm-hmm.
know, say we got the little ones for $10, got the big ones for 20. You're gonna keep on working your way
Mm-hmm.
on up. You know, depend on your
Mm-hmm.
bankroll. You know,
Mm-hmm.
the watches and
Mm-hmm.
sunglasses. If it's raining, I'm the man with the umbrellas. You
Oh
know,
yeah.
so
Oh
I'm
yeah.
just saying, when I ain't had nowhere to go, I stay in a hotel every night.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And I ain't saying no junk hotel either. I wanted to stay in one across, right across the Key Bridge from Georgetown. You know,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so I could just walk across the Key Bridge and be in Georgetown where the action
Oh,
at.
okay.
We ran that joint, but I think
Is
all
that
I
the
was trying to
bridge
get
that
to,
collapsed?
all I was getting to was that we still didn't do welfare, and then
Right.
I turned the food stamp people down because they was cutting into my money making time, sitting in their damn line, waiting on some handout from the government to give me a food. I was like, man, forget this. I walked out of there. I had me a big old deep dish pizza that night
Mm-hmm.
and stayed in the
Mm-hmm.
hotel. And stayed in the hotel.
Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah.
Oh, I almost forgot the point I was trying to make. The point I was trying to make, and this was a real memoir of a Black Panther. I
Yes.
prayed. Well, no, I made a statement. I made a statement. I said, as long as God is feeding me, I won't take y'all's stuff. I said, but the
Mm-hmm.
moment I ain't getting fed, I'm gonna start taking your stuff. You know? I said,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm out here walking around at 3 o'clock in the morning, you know, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm the king of the streets, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, all the homeless. I'm a really lay it down. This is how it was. We all the homeless people. I would hire them for the night instead
Okay.
of sleeping up in a corner hall, instead of sleeping up in on some steps or something. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I tell them, I
Mm-hmm.
say, here's a nice reclining chair, and I just want you to sit right there. And if anybody touch that vending table, go ape
Yeah.
shit on their ass.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
one dude, he was a Vietnam vet, white dude, right? He
Yeah.
slept under the table with two dogs that will bite you.
Oh yeah. Why? Yeah, they protected him while he was asleep.
Yeah. So I'm just saying, it was at one point where I said, well, as long as I'm eating, I ain't gonna take y'all stuff. But and then it's like, okay, now this person over here, he need to eat. And all these
Mm-hmm.
homeless people, they ain't gotta ask for no damn handout because every morning I'm handing it out, you know? I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, because they really work all night long. I was like, okay, if you leave, you ain't getting paid. But if you
Mm-hmm.
here in the morning, when I get here, you get paid.
Yeah.
You know?
Now here's a quote right here,
Oh,
man.
let me tell the people why. Those mostly Arabs and people from the Middle East, they be selling their stuff, and they would get there like at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning,
Mm-hmm.
and they
Oh
would
yeah,
take
yeah,
up
yeah.
all the spots, and
Yeah,
then
the key
and then
spot.
when like you only have like 4 spots, like two on this side of the street, two on
Yeah,
this side with vending tables, right? And
right.
you say like if those two are taken, then you gotta go up another street, and you look and say, "Damn, that two are taken." You go up another street, "Damn, two are taken."
And you're
So
getting further and further from the marketplace.
right,
You're getting
so
further and further from the crowd. You
right,
see?
so way up the street was some Italians that thought they was mafioso, and they was like,
Yeah.
"Well, don't come up here and take our spots, or they're gonna be problems." I'm like, "Who in the hell want to come way up here?
Exactly.
We down here where the action at." He
Yeah.
told me, he said, "Well, I done already told my men that I pay them $100 to knock somebody out for trying to take my spot." I said, "Well, you ain't got to
Mm-hmm.
worry about us, and don't even throw that out there because I get them boys with the mohawks and stuff that can just come take your spot just for the hell of it."
Mm-hmm. Hey man, here's something in the chat room, man, that Dr. Amos Wilson said.
He's
Okay.
in the chat room, our chat room.
Yeah, I put it in the chat room.
Oh, okay. What'd he say?
Okay. The
I'm
less
talking too much memories. If he's saying that, forget it.
Don't get
Okay.
caught with your pants down.
I'm
Right
just
now, the
kidding.
way the people holster, it's not only.
Only positive stuff. Otherwise,
Okay.
they gotta pay to put comments on.
Okay. Now here's something positive. Now these are the words Dr. Amos Wilson. These are
Oh,
not
okay.
my words. These
All
are the
right.
words of our great scholar, Dr.
Oh,
Amos
okay.
Wilson. The less African we become and the more we move towards European culture, the more insane we become as a people.
Oh, okay. Right
I'm
on.
going to say that again. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Now, these are the
One
words of
more
Dr.
time.
Amos Wilson, not Dynamite, not Shabaka Sankor. These are the words of the great scholar,
Yeah,
Dr.
yeah.
Amos Wilson.
Amos
The
Wilson.
less African we become and the
Uh-huh.
more we move towards European culture, the more
Mhm.
insane we become as a people. Now, I ask you, does that there hold a whole lot of water in these contemporary times, brother?
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought I was the only one that saw that.
No,
But
definitely.
yeah,
That's why
you
I'm trying to
know,
go to the Way Black machine and let people remember where they came from instead of
yes,
being
sir.
told. Because I'm tired of being told. Because I don't believe half the stuff I'm told. No way. You can't
Exactly.
convince me.
Yes, sir.
You can't convince me that you got people lined up like sardines and made them be still, even though people got to use the bathroom, people get sick, all kind of
Right.
stuff, especially if they all lined up like sardines, they would have
Yeah,
never made it. None of them, you know.
exactly.
And the revolutions on them ships would have been devastated, would have been blood in the water. There'd been too much mile on their ass for them to really survive that type thing. And matter of fact, when they pulled the ships up to the coast, they would have got slaughtered
Yeah,
in my
yeah.
mind. So whatever deal they talking about they made with some Africans, I don't think they would have made it into the coast. They would have
Mhm.
sneak around some kind of way, sneak up in there and
Okay.
grab. This is my theory.
Yeah.
They snuck up in there and took babies.
Okay. Yeah.
That way
makes
they could teach them their language, their religion,
Right.
not even their religion, just the parts that they put in the book are like slaves obey your master. Because God would never tell you to obey no master. God would tell you to slaughter them pigs.
Yeah.
I'm
You would
sorry.
think.
That was me. Maybe that's just me saying that.
Yeah. Yeah. You know? Yeah.
God wouldn't tell me to bow down to nobody. Matter of fact, I got biblical proof. If anybody that knows the Bible, I don't know exactly where it's at, but it said, bow down to no man and call
Right.
no man father except the Father in heaven. But I don't want to get biblical on them because, you know, I'm a spiritualist. I believe it
Yeah.
all interlinks because if everybody on the earth look at God all at the same time, they would see him in their form. You know, the
Mhm.
Indians would see him as Indian, American, you know, black see him as black, white see him as
Mhm.
white, you know, like that,
Mhm.
like that, you know. Yeah.
Okay, so now what we're dealing with now, sir, is interpretation.
Well, I'm just saying, is he come to man in there like okay, Chinese, he came to Chinese as Buddha, you know.
Yeah.
And what's that? The Krishna for the Indian?
Oh, Hare Krishnas.
Yeah, the Krishna. Well, not the Hare Krishna. I'm talking about the deity Krishna. You know. So that's why I'm saying he probably got multiple names, but I don't want to get into that. I just want to stick on the fact that Trump has been kicked out of the white society.
Okay.
They no longer want him. Yeah. He gotta
Okay, well,
go.
that's great news.
He gotta go back where he came from. You know. Yeah.
Great
Back over there.
news.
Back over there with the Rockefellers and the Vanderbilts and all them people at with the what's the name of that thing they had? The Niagara Foundation. Go on
Oh,
back to
yeah.
the Niagara Foundation. Tell them it didn't work.
Yeah. Yeah.
He
Yeah.
had a lot of people fooled though, because he be on some subject that black folks be like, man, Barack didn't even do that. You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
At the same time, he turned around and knocked all this black stuff. Like in other words, uh, he said the swastika. What was it? Didn't you see that in the news? They say
Yeah.
he taking the swastika off the hate list.
Mm.
The swastika,
Wow.
it was something else. So, swastika and dig this, a noose in the
Uh-huh.
workplace. Say they had banned it from workplaces, and Trump say, "Oh no, ain't nothing racist about swastikas and nooses."
Mm-hmm.
Man,
Mm.
so yeah, so I better be quiet. Yeah,
Yeah.
because
But you know,
I'll
man,
be a whole bunch of lobotomized motherfuckers messing with me.
whoa, man. Watch the language. Watch the language, man. We ain't
I'll say
trying
mother
to.
jumpers, but it come out so fast, people think I'm saying other things.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I usually say mother jumpers and what the fudge. I gotta make sure I do that. But I'm beginning to realize because a lot of the podcasters they say whatever the hell, you know.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have a
Yeah.
problem with it as long as they're not talking about. As long as they're talking about destruction of each other, it's quite all right. They say whatever they want.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But if we're talking about unity now, we might have to watch our mouth.
Oh yeah. Oh, most definitely.
I say after all the celebrity fading is over, they should gain mutual respect, shake hands, and try to build nations from that point and realize you got black, strong brothers out here who don't know how to agree disagreeably. So let them go ahead and make some money for charity and get their anxieties out. But after it's all over, it's time to unite.
Yeah, man. We don't have a choice. You know?
Especially, see, when you got the brothers that's strong enough, what they did was the Willie Lynch syndrome, was they pit the big light-skinned brother against the big dark-skinned brother.
Mm-hmm. 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 Mm-hmm.
And both of them telling the little light-skinned brother and the little dark-skinned brother, we'll both whoop y'all's ass. So you better stay up out of it. So they ain't got a
Wow.
voice. I'm talking about to this day, they know the weak have no voice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just like Charleston White say, he got that I forgot what he called it, but he got that macho spirit or something like that, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, some people just out of fear, they'll start spouting off all kind of stuff on you. And they might be scared of you, think they're getting ready to die, and say, well, I might as well just tell you everything then. And everything I feel about you for real. And say, I might even say some stuff off the chain, because he be saying stuff that he don't really mean that. You know what I mean? Yeah, he said something derogatory about Nipsey Hussle, but I know that he was saying Nipsey was the character. The actual person was what was his name? Nipsey's name?
Nipsey Hussle.
No, his real name.
I forgot his real name.
It's an Ethiopian name because his family Ethiopian, but he was calling him that and giving that name and his family a lot of respect. So when he just spouting off, he talking about the character that represent the hood, represent the fall of the black civilization.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which is like, these are all soldiers. I need them to all be Panthers.
Mm-hmm.
You know? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Grow into Panthers. I'm gonna play a little more of this. Oh, I got my music jamming in the background. I don't know if they can be heard or not, but that's a bad joint there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we got yeah. I'm just saying, if you want to stay broke, buy a house with a 50-year mortgage. It'll be
Yeah,
real
man.
cheap.
Now, wait a minute. You know what? Glad you brought that up because wasn't the most okay? The mortgages went okay. Let me see.
30 years.
Yeah. They went from 20 years to 30 years. Now they're trying to make it to 50 years, right?
That's so you'll
Okay.
never own it.
Exactly. And therefore they keep fleecing your money. You see what I'm saying? Now,
You
another
never
thing
have.
is,
You never leave it to your family because you'll never pay it off.
yeah, and then not to mention the fact, man, what about when you get hit? Like what happened there in Chicago when they built the Dan Ryan Expressway. The power of
Okay,
eminent
don't leave that subject too
domain.
fast. You know, it was Trump. Trump is the one that trying to initiate that that 50-year mortgage.
Yeah. He's crazy.
And he got a lot of bright ideas, don't he?
Yeah. He's
Yeah,
crazy.
the average person is about 30 when they buy a house, if
Right.
they're lucky.
Right.
Average
You
white
see?
person, let's just say.
Yeah.
So it's going to be paid off when they're 80. So they're
Yeah.
betting that you don't make it to 80.
Exactly. So in other words, basically what they're doing is and then too
Make sure you stay broke. Make sure you stay broke.
say broke.
Make
Yeah,
sure
to keep you broke.
the house go back to the government. And they sell it
Exactly.
over again.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I'm saying?
Or go
You
back to
know?
banks. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And the government gonna get a cut off that too. So all a big
yeah,
game. Don't buy nothing that you can't own.
exactly.
And
Because
if you
all what
buy
you're
it,
doing,
let it pay
man,
for itself.
yeah, because see, when you do that, what you're doing is just paying somebody else's thing, like that old saying that they used to say. Okay, I own an apartment complex, right? You're a friend of mine. I rent you an apartment in there, right? So after you come up, and decide that you're gonna get your own steak, you know what your sentence should be to me? Hey man, I'm buying my own thing because I can no longer pay your mortgage. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
See, so when you pay rent, you see what I'm saying? You are
Right.
paying this person's mortgage for the property. Now, what I mean by a person, a person, right?
Yeah.
A limited liability corporation
Yeah.
or a full-fledged corporation is because a corporation is a legal entity as you are. When you
Yeah.
produce your driver's license to these race soldiers, your internal passports of what I call it, because that's what it is, then you are a legal entity. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
Same thing with a corporation. Okay.
Uh-huh.
You see what I'm saying?
That's
It
what
is
I'm
a
gonna
legal
become.
entity. Mm-hmm.
I want to become a corporation. Yep. We're real revolutionaries right now. So I mean
Mm-hmm.
always, but the business is business. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Definitely
Yeah.
corporation.
Yeah.
So you
Okay.
can
Now here's some.
buy houses in the corporation name and rent them out.
Yes, sir. And you rent them out there to other people. You rent them to people who in turn are going to pay for it. Now, keep in mind, you got to make revenue off of it because you got to keep up the plumbing. You got to
Right.
keep up the integrity of the property, paint,
I
carpet.
want to get something that I can give to the people, but I'm talking about really get in their pockets.
Mm-hmm.
Like everything you do, you should hear a cash register going off, ching ching.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you're painting and you make it look a little bit better, ching ching, and the
Mm-hmm.
side on the outside, ching ching, new roof, ching ching. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then rental increase, rental increase, rental increase. Now, changing the subject here, I want to read this here, brother, because since this year is winding down, And of course, one of our sisters, well known, had transitioned this year. Okay. And I'm going to read this right here.
Asada Shakur.
Yes, sir. Okay. Here's this
Let me put
writing.
his picture up there.
Absolutely. They called her a terrorist because she refused to stay silent. This is the truth about Asada Shakur. They never wanted you to hear. Asada Shakur, we're not going to mention her slave name, a black girl in America who saw injustice everywhere. She looked, schools separated by race, police who treated black people as targets, a system designed to break black futures before they even began. She joined the BPP, not for violence, but to feed hungry children, protect communities, and demand dignity. Once again, to feed hungry children, protect communities, and demand dignity. They fed all the children. They didn't do this just for black children, all hungry children on their way to school.
All
Okay.
the
Okay. But the feds feared anyone who taught black people their power. So the FBI launched COINTELPRO, a secret operation created to destroy black freedom movements from the inside. Keep in mind, a secret operation created to destroy black freedom movements from the inside. They spread lies, turned activists into suspects, and branded anyone who resisted oppression as a criminal. Understand? Okay. Asada became their number one target. Then, of course, we know, then came May 2nd, 1973, the night that changed everything. Now, the cool part about it is our original co-host at Shabaka's Black Experience, the one and only Mad Dr. D, was from that area. Okay. And I was speaking to him about Asada. Okay. And he said, "Who was that?" And I said, "I'm surprised you don't know because her case went down in your neck of the woods." So we just left it at that.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now,
And she couldn't have done it because she had a broken arm or something from
no. Okay, here it is. Here's the details. Then came May 2nd, 1973. May 2nd, 1973, the Watergate hearings were going on. Okay, I remember that well. Okay, the night that changed everything. Asada and two other Panthers were pulled over on the New Jersey Turnpike.
Right.
What happened next remains one of the most disputed police shootings in history. Asada was shot twice. Another Panther, Zaid Shakur, was killed. Now, keep in mind, people, Asada was shot twice. Asada was not a big woman.
Right.
Plus, not to mention the fact that Asada was not a man.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? And I believe Asada was like about 5'2", weighed about 140 pounds at the most. Okay.
Yeah.
Police claim she murdered a state trooper. Ballistics prove she never fired a gun. Once again, people, ballistics, okay, prove she never fired a gun. So ballistics, you say this is forensic science. What is forensic science? Science of the court. So the court sciences proved she never fired a gun. Even a hospital doctor said her injuries made it physically impossible for her to pull the trigger. But evidence didn't matter. They needed a symbol. They needed to make an example of a black woman who dared to resist. Asada was sentenced to life in prison. Caged, silenced, watched every second. But oppression has never stopped black women before. On November 2nd, 1979, with the help of allies who refused to let her disappear behind bars, Asada escaped prison and fled to Cuba, where she was granted political asylum. She has lived there ever since, a woman focused into exile for demanding freedom and in her own country. Today, the U.S. government still labels her a domestic terrorist. They got a $2 million bounty on her head. But the truth is simple. Asada Shakur wasn't a threat to America. She was a threat to injustice. Her words still echo in every movement, demanding equality. It is our duty to fight for our freedom. It is our duty to fight for our freedom. It is our duty to win. They wanted to erase her. We chose to remember her, a mother, a survivor, a revolutionary hero.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, dynamite. Now let's look at something here 50 years later from this time in history, right? 1975 was 50 years ago. Her case went down in 73, 52 years ago. You see? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. She says it is our duty to fight for our freedom. You see what I'm saying? She was a threat to injustice. Okay,
yeah,
hold it.
that's our duty to fight for our freedom.
Okay, she was a threat to injustice, right?
Yeah.
Now,
Well,
let's look
Dr.
at the
King say injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere.
Yeah, and then now listen to that. This here. Now, our good brother here, that I got as a friend on Facebook, got a post up here, right? It's the orange dude, and making a quote. If you idiots haven't figured it out yet, the only reason he wants to be president again was to get retribution, meaning revenge, get rich, and keep his ass out of prison.
Oh yeah.
He don't care about your puny lives.
Yeah. Keep out of prison and stay rich.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah. A
little bit more of this because on a little bit of time.
For a generation, Isaac remained perfectly calm, and his presence was steadying rock in the young man's sea of terror. He placed a hand on Elias's shoulder, the gesture firm and reassuring. Your courage in coming to me will save lives, Elias. You are a braver man than any of them. The simple words of praise seemed to give Elias a measure of strength. His trembling subsided slightly. Tell me everything you heard, Isaac said, his voice low and even. Every word. What route will they take? How many men? Elias, his memory sharp and his mind quick, recounted the details of Beaumont's furious plan. He described the route, a backwoods trail that would keep them hidden from the main road. He gave an estimate of the numbers, nearly 24 men, more than before. He spoke of their weapons, their mood, their thirst for a decisive, brutal victory, a bond of trust, forged in shared danger and a desperate hope for justice, was sealed there in the secret quiet of the thicket. Elias, the boy who read plays about kings and tragedies, had just stepped onto a stage far more dangerous than any he had ever imagined. Armed with Elias's precise information, Isaac prepared for war. He knew the clan's route to the Washington farm intimately. Every twist, every turn, every creek bed and fallen log. He knew he could not meet a force of 24 men head on. That was their way of fighting, a way defined by brute force and overwhelming numbers. His way was the way of the scout, the way of the hunter. He would not meet them. He would dismantle them. For 2 days, he worked tirelessly along the wooded trail they would travel. He became a part of the landscape, a silent, purposeful force of nature preparing for the storm. Near the start of the trail, he spent half a day with an axe and a saw, weakening the trunk of a massive dead oak tree. He rigged a system of ropes, allowing him to bring it down from a distance, creating an impassable barrier that would force them off the main path and into a narrower, more treacherous game trail he had selected. Along this new path, he set his traps. They were not meant to kill, but to confound, to injure, and to terrify. He stretched vines taut between trees at the height of a horse's chest, designed to unseat a rider in the dark. He dug shallow pits and covered them with a flimsy lattice of branches and leaves. He used his knowledge of the woods to create diversions, hanging strips of cloth that would flutter in the breeze like ghostly apparitions, and preparing to use his own voice to mimic the eerie, supernatural calls of owls and bobcats, playing directly on the superstitions his phantom persona had already cultivated. As night fell and the clan rode out from Oak Haven, their mood was grim but determined. Beaumont led them, his back straight, his ornate hood a beacon of authority in the torchlight. They were a disciplined column of riders, an instrument of terror ready to be unleashed. But as they turned onto the backwoods trail, their world began to unravel. The first sign of trouble was the sudden, thunderous crash of the great oak falling across their path, blocking it completely. Curses and shouts filled the air. Beaumont, enraged by the delay, ordered them onto the narrow game trail. It was there that the forest itself seemed to turn against them. A rider at the front of the column let out a strangled cry as a vine caught him across the chest, throwing him violently from his saddle. Moments later, another horse screamed as its leg plunged into a hidden pit. Panic began to ripple through the ranks. Eerie calls echoed from the trees around them, sounds that were almost familiar but twisted into something monstrous and unsettling. The organized raid descended into a paranoid, chaotic mess. Men became separated in the darkness, their torches casting dancing, menacing shadows. Every snapping twig, every rustle of leaves became the sound of the phantom hunter. They were no longer a confident posse. They were a collection of terrified, isolated men, lost in a forest that wanted them gone, hunted by a ghost who seemed to be everywhere at once. In the height of the confusion, Isaac saw his moment. Beaumont, furious and trying to restore order, had pushed ahead of his main group, accompanied only by Carter. They had become separated.
This holiday at PetSmart, save on toys, treats, and
heated. My fingers get
Isolated. This was the opportunity Isaac had engineered. He urged Midnight forward, the horse moving like a black river through the trees, and emerged onto the path directly in front of the two clansmen. For a brief, heart-stopping moment, the Grand Cyclops and the Phantom Rider were face to face. The moonlight filtered through the canopy, dappling the scene in an ethereal, silver light. Beaumont's face, visible through the eye slits of his hood, was a mask of pure fury. "There you are, you devil," he snarled, pulling a large Colt revolver from his belt. But before he could raise the weapon to fire, Isaac's bullwhip, a black serpent in the moonlight, cracked through the air. The lash did not strike Beaumont's body. It was a move of impossible surgical precision. The leather tip wrapped itself expertly around the pointed peak of the Grand Cyclops' ornate silk hood. With a sharp, powerful tug, Isaac snatched it clean off his head. Beaumont's shocked, pale face was suddenly exposed. His neatly trimmed beard and cold, calculating eyes laid bare in the moonlight for his lieutenant to see. His mouth hung open in disbelief, his expression a mixture of shock, rage, and, for the first time, a flicker of genuine fear. The symbol of his power, the source of his authority and terror, was gone. Isaac said nothing. The silence was the final, crushing blow. He held the stolen hood in his hand, a trophy, a declaration. Then he wheeled Midnight around, the powerful horse turning on a dime, and melted back into the darkness as silently as he had appeared, leaving Beaumont standing on the trail, unmasked, unarmed, and utterly humiliated before his own man. The conflict was no longer about a town or a people. It was now deeply, irrevocably personal. The humiliation was a physical presence in Beaumont's study, a phantom more real and more suffocating than the one his men whispered about. It clung to the velvet curtains, soured the expensive bourbon in his decanter, and stared back at him from the dead glass eyes of his hunting trophies. The stolen hood was a void, an absence that screamed his failure. His raw, explosive fury had cooled, solidifying into something far more dangerous. A cold, crystalline obsession. He no longer paced like a caged animal. He sat behind his mahogany desk, perfectly still, his fingers steepled, his eyes fixed on the empty space where the ornate symbol of his power should have been. The humiliation had been a painful but necessary lesson. Brute force had failed. An army of men had been dismantled by a ghost. Therefore, the ghost would not be fought with an army, but with a hook. His lieutenant, Carter, stood by the window, nervously watching the twilight bleed across the manicured lawns of Oak Haven. He still flinched whenever Beaumont spoke. "He is arrogant," Beaumont said, his voice a low, controlled murmur that was infinitely more menacing than his previous rage. "This creature, this phantom, he believes he is a savior, a protector of the weak. It is the fatal flaw of his kind, a sentimentality that clouds judgment." He picked up a silver letter opener, turning it over and over in his fingers, the polished metal catching the lamplight. "We tried to crush him with a hammer, and he slipped through the cracks. Now, we will bait a hook with something he cannot possibly resist." Carter turned from the window. "What kind of bait, Beaumont?" Beaumont allowed a thin, cruel smile to touch his lips. "The most tempting kind. The bait of righteousness." He leaned forward, his eyes gleaming with a newfound cunning. "There is a poor white farmer, a man named Jedediah, a known Union sympathizer. He occasionally hires black farmhands, pays them a fair wage. He is, in short, a traitor to his blood and a thorn in the side of our cause." He set the letter opener down with a soft click. "I have already had a rumor started, passed through a source that will surely reach our phantom's ears. The rumor is simple. The Knights are riding to punish Jedediah for his sympathies. We will make an example of him tonight." Carter's brow furrowed in confusion. "But we're telling him where we'll be. Isn't that the same mistake as before?" Beaumont's smile widened. "That is the beauty of it, Carter. He will think we are fools. He will believe we are predictable. His ego, his belief that he is our master, will demand that he ride to the aid of a white sympathizer. It proves his power is not about race, but about justice. It is a temptation he is psychologically incapable of resisting." He rose and walked to a map of the county pinned to the wall. "This time, we will not ride in force. We will not carry torches. We will be silent. We will be the ghosts. My men are already moving into position, hidden in the tree line, in the ditches, in Jedediah's own barn. They will be waiting, and when our savior appears, silhouetted against the moon, they will not try to capture him. They will not try to unmask him. They will shoot to kill. I want his body riddled with so much lead it sinks in water. He turned back to Carter, his face alight with a feverish, predatory glee. I want his corpse dragged through the center of redemption at dawn. I want the legend to die a very public, very bloody death. The plan was a testament to his adaptation. He had moved beyond the simple thuggery of his followers.
He's out to make an example out of it.
Psychological warfare, turning the Phantom Rider's own perceived virtues into the mechanism of his doom. He was no longer just a bully. He was a hunter, and he was laying the perfect trap. The news of the planned raid on Jedediah's farm reached Isaac through Elias, the young stable hand who had become his unwilling but resolute eyes and ears inside Oak Haven. They met in their usual spot, the dense thicket now shrouded in the deep purple of twilight. Elias was more terrified than ever, his words tumbling out in a rushed, breathless whisper. He relayed the rumor he had been instructed to overhear, the story of the clan's righteous fury being turned on the white sympathizer Jedediah. But as Isaac listened, a profound sense of wrongness settled over him. His instincts, honed by years of tracking men who did not want to be found, screamed that this was a lie. He stood perfectly still, letting Elias's words wash over him, but his mind was racing, analyzing the information not for what it said.
He knew he was BSing him.
Beaumont had been publicly,
he knew he was setting him
humiliated. A man like that, a man whose entire identity was built on a foundation of dominance and perceived superiority, did not respond to such an insult by loudly announcing his next move. A humiliated predator does not roar before it strikes. It grows silent. It waits. It lays a trap. This feels wrong, Isaac murmured, more to himself than to Elias. It's too loud. It's too obvious. He looked at the young man, whose face was a mask of earnest fear. Beaumont isn't a fool. He's arrogant, but he's not a fool. He's baiting a hook. The realization settled in his gut with the cold weight of a stone. They weren't going for Jedediah. They were going for him. Jedediah was just the cheese. Isaac placed a firm hand on Elias's shoulder, steadying the young man's trembling. Thank you, Elias. You have done a great service tonight. Now, listen to me very carefully. Do not go back to the plantation tonight. Find a place to hide, somewhere no one would think to look for you. Do not let anyone see you until morning. Do you understand? Elias nodded, his eyes wide with a new kind of fear, the fear of the unknown. He understood he was part of a game whose rules he could not comprehend. He scurried away into the darkness, leaving Isaac alone with the chilling certainty of the trap that had been laid for him. Isaac did not go to his cabin to retrieve the black garments of the Phantom Rider. He did not saddle the mighty Midnight. Instead, he stripped himself of any excess gear, keeping only his knife, his revolver, and his wits. He would not ride into this ambush. He would stalk it. He would approach it not as a legend, but as a scout, on foot, and under the cover of the deepest shadows. The moon was a sliver of bone in the black sky as Isaac moved through the woods surrounding Jedediah's farm. He moved like a ghost, a whisper of motion, his feet making no sound on the damp earth. The air was still and heavy, pregnant with a silence that felt unnatural, manufactured. As he drew closer, the silence began to resolve itself into 1,000 tiny, hidden sounds. The creak of a leather strap, the muffled cough of a man trying to stay quiet, the glint of moonlight off a rifle barrel carelessly shifted. He saw the first one in the deep shadow of a large oak, a man-shaped lump of darkness that was too still, too rigid to be a part of the natural landscape. Then he saw another, lying flat in a shallow ditch by the road. His eyes, accustomed to peering through the deceptions of the night, began to pick them out, one by one. There were dozens of them. They were hidden in the tree line, crouched behind the stone walls that bordered the fields, concealed in the hayloft of Jedediah's barn. They formed a perfect concentric circle of death around the small, unsuspecting farmhouse. It was a kill box. Isaac's blood ran cold. He had been right. The sheer scale of the ambush, the discipline of their silence, was terrifying. He was moving along the edge of a swampy creek bed that bordered the farm when he heard it. The squelch of boots in the mud. Too close. A patrol, 2 men, was moving along the bank just above him. There was no time to run. No cover to be found. He did the only thing he could. He slid silently into the murky, stagnant water of the creek. The water was shockingly cold, the mud at the bottom thick and grasping, sucking at his boots. He submerged himself completely, the foul-smelling water closing over his head. He had prepared for this possibility. A hollow reed held ready in his hand. He positioned the end of the reed just above the surface, a tiny, natural-looking straw amidst the algae and scum. He held his breath, his body rigid, every muscle screaming in protest against the cold. The sound of his own heartbeat was a deafening drum in his ears. He could hear the clansmen's boots just feet away. He could hear their low, guttural whispers. "See anything?" one asked. "Nothing. Quiet as a tomb," the other replied. "Good. I want to be the one that gets him. Beaumont's paying a bonus." They moved on. Isaac remained submerged, the seconds stretching into an eternity. The water was filled with unseen things that brushed against his skin. He felt the slick, muscular body of a snake glide over his leg, and it took every ounce of his discipline not to recoil. This was the closest he had ever come to death. Not in the heat of battle, but here, helpless and alone in a stinking creek, breathing through a fragile reed. The vulnerability shook him to his core. The legend felt 1,000 miles away. He was just a man drowning in the dark, a man who had almost made a fatal mistake after what felt like a lifetime. He risked raising his head from the water. The patrol was gone. He pulled himself from the creek, his clothes heavy with mud and slime, his body shaking uncontrollably from the cold and the adrenaline. He had escaped, but the trap was still set. He could not ride in, but he could not simply leave. Leaving meant they would win. It meant they would wait all night for a ghost that never came. And in the morning, their frustration might well be taken out on Jedediah and his family. He had to turn their strategy against them. He had to pull them away. An idea sparked in his mind, a desperate, brilliant gamble. He would not spring their trap. He would set a fire, not just any fire, but a fire they could not ignore. He began to move, a swift and silent shadow running through the woods, no longer stalking, but racing. He traveled for miles, circling wide around the ambush site, his destination the one place their loyalty would be most divided, Oak Haven, Beaumont's own sprawling plantation. He reached the edge of Beaumont's vast property, a kingdom built on the sweat and blood of others. He found what he was looking for, a massive hayfield, the grass dry as tinder from the late autumn heat. The wind was blowing steadily,
You know what
a
he gonna
strong
do?
breeze moving away from the main
Burn,
house
baby,
and toward
burn.
an empty stretch of forest. It was perfect.
It was going
He
down.
worked quickly, creating a small pile of the driest grass and twigs. With his flint and steel, he struck a spark. A tiny flame flickered, then caught. He nurtured it, fed it, until it grew into a hungry, crackling fire. Then he stepped back and watched. The wind took the flames and spread them with astonishing speed. The fire roared across the dry field, a wave of orange and red that devoured everything in its path. It created a massive blaze, a pillar of smoke and light that could be seen for miles, a false dawn rising in the west. The clansmen waiting in ambush at Jedediah's farm were thrown into confusion. The distant glow was unmistakable. It was in the direction of Oak Haven. Their discipline, so rigid
This is
just
good
moments
military
before,
strategy he's
shattered.
doing too.
No,
Their
that's
loyalty
exactly what it
was
is.
were they to hold their positions for a phantom that
If you
might
know
never
they're gonna
appear,
set you up,
or race to save
stalk
the
them.
property and wealth of their leader? For most, the choice was simple. Greed and self-preservation won out. Shouts erupted as men abandoned their posts, running for their horses, their trap forgotten in the face of a direct threat to their master's fortune. As the ambush dissolved into a panicked race to fight the fire,
Over 1 million.
No, later for these commercials, we ain't advertising nobody's stuff.
Yep, that's right.
You got to pay us.
Yep, well, good time for us to tell the people to subscribe, follow, like, and share the broadcast. And whatever you do, tell everybody that don't tell nobody that I told you so, though. How about that?
Exactly. And then follow and like the page on Facebook, Shabaka's Black Experience Enhanced.
Yep, and Black Ophenham Lion TV. Let's get black to it, because we're on a little bit time.
face of a direct threat to their
Yeah,
master's
because I know,
fortune.
man, it's going on
As the
midnight
ambush
show.
dissolved into
He
a
started
panicked
burning the
race to fight the
plantation down.
fire,
He knew they was going to go
Exactly.
fight that
Isaac
fire.
made his move.
Right.
He retrieved
And
the
when they go
diversion.
fight that
The
fire, he
great
got
horse,
him.
sensing his master's
Yeah,
urgency,
diversion.
he did not ride toward the fire.
Because he knew where they were
He
going.
rode toward the now empty town of Redemption. The town square was deserted, bathed in the eerie glow of the distant blaze. Isaac dismounted in the center of the square, in front of the public
Now
notice
it's time
board
to
where
turn back into the
proclamations and laws were
phantom on
posted.
their ass.
From inside his
Yeah.
ship,
Go put your
he pulled
phantom
the
stuff on
stolen
now.
ornate
Put
silk
that Black
hood of the
Panther
Grand
uniform on.
Cyclops. He
Yeah.
flattened
Yep.
it against the wooden board. Then he drew his razor-sharp Bowie knife. With a single powerful motion, he plunged the knife through the center of the hood, pinning it firmly to the board. The blade quivered, its steel gleaming in the moonlight. He left it there, a stark and silent message for all to see in the morning light. The message was clear, brutal, and deeply personal. It said, "Asterisk, I was not in your trap. I was at your home. I know who you are, and I can get to you anywhere. Asterisk, Beaumont's authority, once as solid and imposing as the marble mantelpiece in his study, had been shattered into 1,000 pieces. The public display of his stolen hood, pinned like a dead moth to the town's notice board, was an act of psychological warfare so profound it
Exactly.
fundamentally altered the
sure.
balance of power in
That sounds
Redemption.
like some Black
It had
Lightning
made
type
him a
of
laughing
strategy.
stock among his enemies and, far worse, a figure of ridicule among his own wavering followers. Men who had once trembled at his command now exchanged sideways glances and whispered behind his back. His carefully constructed edifice of fear and respect had crumbled overnight, leaving him exposed and powerless. His men, spooked by a phantom who seemed to be omniscient, who could walk through walls and set fires at will, were deserting in droves. They were simple men, motivated by a mixture of hatred, boredom, and the promise of power. They had signed up to be the terrifying specters of the night, not the terrified victims of one. In his study, the air thick with the scent of stale bourbon and defeat, Beaumont was a man transformed. The cold, calculating strategist was gone, replaced by a desperate fanatic.
funky drunk.
His eyes held a wild, feverish gleam, the look of a zealot who has seen his god defiled. He had called for one last secret meeting, gathering the last of his loyal, hardcore followers, the ones whose hatred was as pure and personal as his own. This was not a call for a raid or a simple act of terror. This was a summons for a ritual. "He is one man," Beaumont's voice cracked, echoing in the cavernous room. He stood before the fireplace, his shadow dancing on the wall like a demon sent to test our resolve, to test the purity of our blood and our cause. The lesser men have fled. The chaff has been separated from the wheat. Only you, the true believers, remain.
He went
He looked at
biblical.
the dozen faces staring back at him, men whose loyalty was now cemented by their shared humiliation. We will not hunt him as men. We will hunt him as an order. We will perform the sacred rite of the blood hunt, and we will send this creature back to the hell that spawned him. This is for our blood, for our land, for our way of life, which he seeks to burn to the ground. His voice dropped to a conspiratorial, venomous whisper, his rage coiling into a single point of action. We meet at the old burned-out church by the river, at the rising of the full moon. Tonight, we will end this. We will wash our honor clean in his blood. The conflict had reached its boiling point. Beaumont had abandoned all pretense of a wider cause, of restoring order or protecting a way of life. His motivation was now purely, nakedly personal. It was the desperate gambit of a king who had lost his crown and had nothing left to wager but his own soul. Elias heard the plan. He was not meant to. He had been cleaning the tack in the stables, his hands busy but his ears straining, catching the fragments of Beaumont's unhinged speech as he addressed his lieutenants near the stable door. The words, "burned church," "full moon," and "sacred rite" chilled him to the bone. He knew this was the endgame. The terror that had been his constant companion for weeks
that's what they do now,
threatened
burn
to
churches,
swallow him
black
whole.
churches.
Yeah.
But beneath it, a different feeling
Birmingham in 1963.
a hard, defiant resolve planted by Isaac's quiet courage. He knew he had to act. This was his greatest risk, a risk that offered no reward, only the possibility of a brutal, lonely death. Waiting until the deepest point of the night, when the plantation was asleep and the only sounds were the chirping of crickets and the distant call of a whippoorwill, Elias slipped out of his small room above the stables. He didn't take the road. He moved through the fields and woods, a small, terrified shadow flitting from one patch of darkness to the next, his heart hammering against his ribs like a trapped bird. He found Isaac in the ruins of the old Granger cabin, a place that had become their unspoken meeting point. Isaac was not preparing for a ride. He was cleaning his revolver with a slow, methodical calm that seemed to radiate into the tense night air. Elias burst in, breathless and pale with terror, his words tumbling out in a frantic rush. "The old church by the river," he gasped, leaning against the doorframe to keep from collapsing. "Tonight, at the full moon, he's gathering all his leaders, all the ones who are left. He looked at Isaac, his eyes pleading. It's a trap, Isaac. I know it's a trap, but it's also all of them, all in one place. He means to kill you for good. He called it a sacred hunt. Isaac stopped his work. He looked at the young man, at his heaving chest and his terrified eyes, and he felt a profound sense of gratitude and sorrow. He rose and walked over, placing a firm, steadying hand on Elias's shoulder. The simple touch seemed to drain the panic from the young man, leaving only a trembling exhaustion. You've done more than enough, Elias, Isaac said, his voice low and filled with a quiet power. You have done a brave and noble thing. You are a hero. He squeezed the young man's shoulder gently. Now go. Get somewhere safe. Find a place in the woods and do not come out. Don't let anyone see you until this is over. This ends tonight. Elias nodded, a single tear tracing a path through the grime on his cheek. He looked at Isaac one last time, a look of awe and fear, then turned and vanished back into the night, his part in the war of shadows finally over. Isaac knew he might not survive this night. He was not walking into a fight. He was walking into a ritual designed for his destruction. Before he became the Phantom Rider one last time, there was one final thing he had to do. He went to Sarah's farm. The small cabin was dark save for a single lamp burning in the window. He found her on the porch, rocking slowly in her chair, a shotgun resting across her lap. She looked up as he approached, her eyes sharp and knowing. She did not ask where he was going or what he was about to do. The finality of his visit hung in the air between them, unspoken but deeply understood. You be careful out there, son, she said, her voice raspy but strong. The night has teeth. Isaac stopped at the bottom of the porch steps and looked up at the woman who was the last link to his past, to the life he had known before the war, before the hoods, before the Phantom. I know, he replied, his voice soft. But so do I. Sarah nodded slowly, a silent acknowledgement of the man he had become. She rose and went inside, saying she would fetch him a cup of water for his journey. In that brief moment, while she was gone, Isaac moved to the side of her old, weathered barn. He ran his hand along the familiar timber until his fingers found what they were looking for. A large, flat stone in the foundation that had been loose for as long as he could remember. He worked it free, revealing a dark, cool space within the wall. From inside his shirt, he pulled his small, leather-bound journal. He held it for a moment, the weight of it in his hand feeling heavier than ever before. It contained the truth, his truth, the story of why the Phantom had been born. He placed the journal carefully into the hidden nook, then slid the stone back into place, ensuring it was snug and looked undisturbed. He was ensuring his story, his reason, would be preserved even if he fell. It was an act of legacy, a final, quiet defiance against the forces that sought to erase him and his people from history. When Sarah returned with the water, he was standing by the steps again, his face calm and unreadable. He drank the water, thanked her, and walked away into the darkness without looking back. The transformation was different this time. As he pulled on the black canvas shirt and trousers, as he strapped the Colt revolver to his hip and affixed the leather mask to his face,
That's definitely a
it was
Panther
not with the
uniform.
cold rage of his first ride, nor the grim determination of the hunts that followed. It was with a solemn, final purpose. He was no longer just a hunter. He felt like an executioner, not of men, but of an idea, a sickness that had poisoned his home. As he saddled midnight, a storm began to gather on the distant horizon. The air grew heavy and thick, charged with electricity. A low, deep rumble of thunder echoed from the west, a sound like distant artillery, a familiar and unsettling prelude to battle. The approaching storm was a mirror to his own internal state, a controlled tempest, a fury held in check, ready to be unleashed with precision and overwhelming force. He rode toward the ruined church, the wind picking up, whipping at his clothes and carrying the scent of rain and damp earth. The location was fitting, a house of God, a place of sanctuary and peace, burned to the ground by the very hatred he was riding to confront. It was a stage perfectly set for the final act of this tragedy. He was calm, his mind clear and focused, his senses sharp. He was prepared to meet his fate, whatever it might be. Tucked into his belt, alongside his knife, was a new item, a piece of his evolving strategy. It was the soiled, common hood of a regular clansman, taken as a trophy from a previous skirmish. It was a tool of deception, a scout's trick for a soldier's war. He was not just riding to a battle. He was infiltrating the enemy's temple on the eve of their most sacred rite. The skeletal ruins of the old church clawed at the stormy sky, its burned timbers like the ribs of a long dead beast. Isaac arrived not with a thunderous charge, but as a whisper on the wind. The storm, his only ally, was closer now, the air thick and electric, each distant rumble of thunder a drumbeat counting down to the final confrontation. He dismounted in a grove of water oaks 100 yards away, calming midnight with a soft touch to his neck. The horse stood steady, a creature of the night, patient and silent. On foot, Isaac moved toward the faint, flickering light emanating from the church's hollowed-out shell. In the deep shadow of torchlight.
Yeah, brother, I think I'd give him part 2 tomorrow or something, you know?
Hood
Yes, sir.
All right, well, thanks for hanging out with me, and everybody hit the Cash App so me and Chewbacca can get some well-needed equipment for the broadcast. Black Power.
Of his purpose.
Always.
But it was necessary.
I'm out.
The world swam. There were about a dozen of them, the hardcore, the last of the faithful. In the chaotic, dancing torchlight and the growing darkness of the storm, he was just another faceless member of the congregation of hate. No one gave him a second glance. He listened, his senses straining behind the suffocating mask. He heard their nervous whispers, their boasts laced with a terror they were trying to suppress. Then, a voice cut through the murmurs, sharp and commanding. Beaumont. He stood upon the ruined stone altar, a new ornate hood on his head, a replacement for the one Isaac had taken. He was a high priest addressing his acolytes. They say he is a demon, Beaumont's voice rang out, filled with a fanatical fervor. But we are the instruments of God's own wrath. He is a test of our sacred resolve. Beaumont's tirade was a venomous sermon, a litany of grievances and a call for purification by blood. He began to name them, his key lieutenants, pointing to each one in turn, his voice swelling with theatrical importance. Carter, my right hand, who will lead the first charge. Jennings, whose loyalty has never wavered. And Cobb, who will have the honor of the final blow. Isaac, hidden in their midst, committed each name, each face behind the hood, to memory. Beaumont was not just giving a speech. He was signing their death warrants, exposing his entire inner circle in his hubris. He was making Isaac's work for him. As Beaumont's hateful rhetoric reached a crescendo, his arm raised to the turbulent sky as if to command the storm itself. Isaac acted. He did not draw his gun. He uncoiled his whip. With a single fluid motion, the black leather lash shot out, not at a man, but at the main torch stand near the altar. The whip wrapped around the metal pole, and Isaac pulled, hard. The stand toppled with a crash of metal and a shower of sparks, plunging the ruins into a sudden, profound darkness, broken only by the intermittent, brilliant flashes of lightning from the heavens. Panic erupted. Men shouted in confusion, stumbling into one another, their monstrous forms reduced to a mob of frightened, blind men. In the chaos, Isaac vaulted onto the altar. The storm, as if on cue, broke. Rain began to pour down in thick, cold sheets, hissing on the hot stones and turning the ground to slick mud. Beaumont, blinded and enraged, spun around, his hand flying to the revolver at his belt. "Who are you?" He screamed into the disorienting dark, his voice a mixture of fury and raw terror. "Show yourself, demon." A brilliant, searing flash of lightning split the sky, illuminating the scene for a frozen second. A perfect tableau of judgment. Isaac stood before him on the altar. He slowly, deliberately, reached up and pulled off the filthy clan hood, dropping it into the mud. Then, his eyes locked on Beaumont's. He reached up again and removed his own black leather mask. Beaumont's face, caught in the afterimage of the lightning, twisted in a rictus of shock and utter disbelief. He saw not a demon, not a phantom from the swamp, but the face of Isaac Granger, the black man, the former scout, the quiet farmer he had dismissed and underestimated. It was a recognition so profound it shattered his world. "I'm the freedom you thought you could burn," Isaac said, his voice low and cold. A quiet promise of retribution that was more terrifying than any shout. The fight was not a duel of honor. It was a raw, brutal struggle for dominance in the mud and the driving rain. Beaumont, recovering from his shock with a surge of pure animalistic rage, lunged forward. He was a big man, strong from a life of leisure and casual cruelty. But Isaac's body was a weapon honed by war and necessity. His combat training, the muscle memory of 100 desperate fights, took over. Beaumont swung a wild punch, and Isaac slipped under it, the motion fluid and economical. He drove his shoulder into Beaumont's midsection, knocking the air from his lungs with a pained grunt. They grappled on the slick stones of the altar, a chaotic dance of limbs in the strobing lightning. Beaumont's strength was born of fury, but Isaac's was cold and focused. He systematically dismantled his opponent. A sharp blow to the wrist sent Beaumont's revolver flying into the darkness. A precisely aimed kick to the back of the knee brought the larger man crashing down to one knee. Isaac gave him no quarter. He did not kill him. Death would be an escape, an easy martyrdom. He wanted to break him, to strip him of everything he was. He forced Beaumont onto his stomach, twisting his arm behind his back until he cried out in pain. With a length of rope from his belt, Isaac bound his hands tightly. The great grand Cyclops, the master of redemption, was helpless. In a final act of symbolic justice, Isaac grabbed the pointed silk hood and ripped it from Beaumont's head, leaving him exposed and defeated on the muddy altar of his own ruined church. Just then, the other clansmen, having managed to light a few new torches, began to close in. They raised their weapons, their faces a mixture of confusion and menace. But as the torchlight fell upon the altar, they stopped dead. They saw their revered, all-powerful leader, unmasked, bound, and utterly helpless, a pathetic figure sobbing in the mud. The illusion of his power, the very foundation of their order, was shattered. They were not looking at a demon they had been sent to hunt. They were looking at a man, and they saw that their leader was just another man, a failed one. The sight broke them. There were no more shouts of defiance. One by one, they lowered their torches. They looked at each other, their own facelessness now a source of shame, not strength. Then they turned and fled, melting back into the stormy night, abandoning their god on his broken altar. Isaac Granger was never seen in the town of Redemption again. The phantom rider, his purpose served, vanished with the morning mist. He left Beaumont tied to the altar for the dawn to reveal, a living monument to his own failure. With their leader exposed and their ranks broken and scattered, the clan's reign of terror in the region came to an abrupt end. The night raids stopped. The burnings ceased. A fragile, tentative peace began to settle over the land. The town slowly began to heal. People still walked with caution, their eyes still holding a shadow of the fear that had been their constant companion. But the suffocating blanket of dread had been lifted. They could breathe again. The whispers in the community changed. They no longer spoke of the white-robed monsters who came in the night. Instead, on quiet evenings, they spoke in hushed, awed tones of a guardian, a dark horseman who had ridden out of the storm and delivered a justice the law would not. They spoke of the phantom rider. The fear of the night had been replaced by a legend of it. Many years passed. The seasons turned, and the scars on the land and the people began to fade. Sarah's old farm, long since abandoned after her peaceful passing, stood quiet and empty, a slow victim to the patient siege of time and nature. One hot summer night, a storm, much like the one that had marked the Phantom Rider's final ride, rolled across the Alabama hills. A bolt of lightning, jagged and white hot,
Black lightning,
struck the dry, ancient timber of the old barn. The structure, a tinderbox of memory, caught fire instantly and burned to the ground, a final, fiery punctuation to a long-forgotten chapter. A few days later, a young boy, the grandson of a man who remembered the time of fear, was picking through the charred, blackened ruins, searching for old bottles or interesting relics. His hand, sifting through the ash and debris near the foundation, brushed against something hard and cool. He dug it out. It was a small, scorched metal box, warped by the heat but still intact. With some effort, he pried the lid open. Inside, nestled in the remains of what might have been oilcloth, was a small, leather-bound journal. Most of its pages were fused together or burned away to black, brittle lace by the intense heat of the fire. But as the boy carefully turned the fragile remains, He found the last page, miraculously preserved in the center of the book. The script was faded but written in a strong, clear hand. He could make out the final haunting line. It read,
They fucked
"They
around and
came in
found out.
hoods. I rode in theirs." The story ends, but the legend of the Phantom Rider lives on in the region. A ghost story told to children, and a cautionary tale whispered by old men. Locals still say that on the stormiest nights, when the wind howls through the pines, and the world is washed clean by the rain, you can sometimes hear the faint, ghostly echo of hoofbeats on the old trails, a timeless reminder that when evil men don their masks, a hero must sometimes don one of his own, a silent rider keeping watch from the distant dark hills.